Blood and bones in the soil. Yeah. Walk with a bodyguard. Only go to war with the loyal. Yeah. Saints like arms that cannot fall when God is for you.
Few minutes talking about voter education towards the next elections, coming up next year. And Samson Itodo joins us this morning. He's Executive Director, Yaga Africa. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And it's sorry we have to just pull you out to get this done right quick. What, in your opinion, very quickly, makes the 2023 elections peculiar, different altogether from all that we've had since 1999?
Well, there are several factors that make the 2023 election different for a lot of reasons. The first is we have a new electoral law that commands public support and public trust and confidence because of public engagement in the design of the Electoral Act. So this new act commands public trust and respect. And so it is significant for this reason because you have a new electoral law that provides expansive reforms to the procedure, the nature of our political institutions, but more importantly, safeguards the sanctity of the vote. Secondly, this is also going to be the first election where electronic transmission of results and electronic accreditation would have legality based on provisions of the law. And INEC has indicated with the use of the BVAS that results are going to be transmitted electronically from the polling booth, published on the INEC election results viewing portal, so members of the public can see the result as soon as they are published. Thirdly, there's a surge in the number of people who have showed up to register. You can see a wave of young people, of citizens, who have registered and are willing to collect their permanent voters card. And so this surge, despite the challenges that the country is grappling with, really shows that Nigerians have not lost hope in Nigeria, and they are interested in making a bold statement in the 2023 election. So these are some of the reasons why this election, to a large extent, is different from the previous ones.
Well, Mr. Itodo, we have had high voter apathy over the years. In fact, the higher the more the voter register grows, the higher the voter apathy grows, the less number of people come out to vote. Do you see these issues that you have raised, the new electoral law, injection of technology into the process, and this voter turnout, this voter interest in getting registered? Do you see it changing the dynamic in the year ahead?
Honestly, I think it would change the dynamics. But again, it's left for the Nigerian people to make a choice. And I think that this election provides we Nigerians an opportunity to make a choice on whether we want to continue on this downward spiral where governance and leaders who emerge out of elections don't provide the leadership that Nigerians actually desire. For too long, people have complained about integrity of the process. Since 2015, Nigerians have clamored for access to polling unit level results. Nigerians have clamored for a results management process that ensures that results are not altered at the ward collation level. Nigerians have clamored for this for too long. Now, an electoral act that provides that is available to them. And so you are not surprised that you're seeing this level of turnout. You can see also for the voter registration, you can see as well that citizens are waiting INEC to announce when their PVCs will be ready, because it appears that the political system has now thrown up more options for them. Previously, elections have been about, establishment political parties and actors, but it appears now that you have you have less political parties, but you also have parties who seem to have presented candidates that enjoy some level of support from a cross section of Nigerians. And so the contest isn't just about two major political parties. As some would say, it's actually a four-horse race, which means Nigerians have different options to choose from. But when they go out to vote next year, they want to have the confidence that their vote will count. And this Electoral Act does provide the opportunity for their votes counted. But also the fact that we have seen in recent elections where citizens have made a bold statement, where they voted out leaders that have not performed. And so, anchoring on that, I believe that you would see a high level of turnout in 2015.
I'm gonna ask that question again, Mr. Itodo, but in a different way. You've spoken, perhaps you've even begun to answer the question. The distrust of the people, the distrust by the people of government, or anything that has to do with government at whatever level, federal, state, local, it doesn't matter, is very, very high. That trust quotient gets people to say, look, I'm not going to even bother myself because what's going to happen is going to happen anyway. But add that to the fact that most of the time we hear about these electoral laws. Those who know. You have read it, a number of people have read it, but I'm not sure we can say that for the generality of Nigerians, for 90% of Nigerians minimum, that have read this law and are confident that it is going to ensure that their votes count. How do we inject or re-inject the confidence of the people in the process, electoral process, governance process? How do we re-inject confidence, the people's confidence in the fact that it is going to happen exactly as we have it in mind?
I think the point about building confidence is both ways. And confidence building or trust is a two-way street. Whilst the government needs to take actions that boost confidence in Nigerians, and in this case, there are certain principles. One, transparency. How transparent is the process that gives people the confidence that when they vote on the day of election, that their ballots will be counted, results will be entered, and results will not be altered at the different levels of collation. And this is why you have the IREV, the INEC Election Results Viewing Portal. We've seen that deployed in previous elections, and it's increased the integrity quotient of those elections. Edo, Osun, and even the recent Ekiti elections. Because in Ekiti, as at 7 p.m., 90% or 80% of all the results from the 2,445 polling units were already out there. And so people could see these result sheets, which are the Form EC8As. That's one way to build confidence. Previously, it wasn't the case. People have to wait for even days to access election results. But that has changed now. And it's also shifted, the character of our political actors, where they wait for voters to go vote, they wait for them at the collation centers and then alter the result. I'm not saying that the entire process is fireproof, but there is some level of progress that we have made, and Nigerians need to ensure that this vigilance that they put forward in the design of this law and the voter registration process is sustained all through the campaign period and also voting. The second critical point about re-engineering trust is the fact that, Nigerians need to show resilience and need to resist, these tendencies by the political class to subvert the process. As we build towards the elections, you can see that this law, has been violated by our political parties and actors. And so Nigerians need to constantly demand accountability from the institutions that are responsible for implementing this particular law. But it's going to take a lot of vigilance. And this is why we have said, don't sit and wait, believing that INEC or political parties and all the stakeholders will play by the rules. When you go to the polls, your polling station on election day, when you cast your vote, don't leave the polling station. Remain at the polling station until the ballots are counted, the results are entered into the result sheets, and the presiding officer takes the BVAS and takes a picture of the result sheet and upload them on the portal. Do not leave the polling station until all of this processes are completed.
But Mr.
Because the
Itodo,
price,
my
the price
apologies.
that you pay is
Yes.
vigilance.
Yeah, my apologies, for butting in. At the end of the day, one of the things that many people fear is violence. Sometimes things are going so smoothly, everything is just, going hunky-dory, and before you know what is happening, something happens and people have to flee. So while people are trying to ensure, as you're saying, or recommending that, we should ensure that our votes count, do the needful while we're there at the polling booths and all, we can say that for perhaps sane environments. But in some other environments where, insecurity, things can just happen at any time. We've seen this countless times. Even in 2019, this happened during the general elections. It's not a staggered election now, Samson. It's a major general election. In that event, what can people do?
Actually, that brings me to the very important point that I need to make. Section 65 of the Electoral Act provides, the power that INEC has to review election results. This particular provision, Nigerians fought for this provision. If Nigerians recall, this was one particular provision that was deleted before citizens cried out and the National Assembly returned this particular provision, that INEC has the power to review results, declared under duress or in contravention of the guidelines. Because you've seen cases where, there's disruption of elections and then results come out from those polling units. Now, what the law says is INEC has the power to review those results. If you look at the guidelines provides that, I think under section 99, provides that a report shall be submitted to INEC for INEC to review this sort of results from those polling units. So if this situation happens in your polling unit where there is disruption, as citizens, civil society, and media, you have a right and an opportunity to do what? Submit a report before INEC and say the results that you've announced for these polling units, elections didn't hold in these polling units because there was violence. We came out to vote, but thugs came and disrupted the election. So there is no way you can make any declaration from this particular polling unit. So that's one way. Secondly, security agencies have a fundamental role to play in this regard. And so in the build-up to the elections, they need to go beyond assuring Nigerians that adequate security will be provided for the elections. They need to, one, build confidence in Nigerians about their non-partisanship and neutrality.
Okay.
Secondly, they need to build broad-based partnership both with the communities. And I said, if 90% of registered voters in a particular polling unit show up in a polling unit, it will be difficult for election riggers to subvert the process.
Okay.
Because how many people can you disrupt? And this is reality. And I say this, that Nigerians, you see, these politicians are determined to rig this election at all costs. And it's going to take a lot of courage. It's going to take resilience. I'm not saying that citizens should compromise their safety, but if people show up at the polling units, even the politicians who sponsor these talks will be scared that people have showed up. But it's when you don't show up, that little number of people show up, that they feel emboldened to disrupt elections at those polling units.
Well, it's an ongoing conversation, Mr. Itodo. We have to thank you so much for being a part of our conversation this morning. And please, keep the good work up, because we will call you from time to time to ensure that this voter education is sustained. Samson Itodo is Executive Director, IAGA Africa. Thank you again for your time this morning. So, what do you need to do to keep fit? When we return.